This is where we enjoy the ride. So come on, let's go.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to be better without what's been holding us back now. Let's move closer to a new history, find out what we can be together. Take my hand and we will conquer the world.
So annual maintenance consists of replacing the fuel filter, replacing the fuel nozzle. They say to clean, a thorough cleaning of the combustion chamber, but that's going to be predicated on how dirty it is. It should be clean, fairly clean, because it's been running really good since last year, and so it shouldn't have a lot of buildup of stuff in it, but we'll see.
And the last year is when you replaced what parts?
Last year's when I replaced, well, I mean, I replaced the filter and that, but that's when I got the new diesel burner. It's the main, you'll see it in a minute. It's the main
It was a diesel burner?
With the whole, we bought a brand new whole diesel burner.
Okay.
To replace the old one. And the reason we did that was because, one, it was a really good deal. Instead of over 4,000, I think it was like 4,500 bucks normally or something like that. Or in the $4,000 range, it was 2,400 bucks. And it was brand new. I'm like, I can't. And it was going to cost me $1,800-ish for parts to rebuild the old one, because the fuel pump was bad, you know, and then you have to replace a bunch of other stuff while you're in there. So 1,800 bucks, and I have to rebuild the whole thing, or 2,400 bucks free shipping, and I just get to plug and play.
Did you get that from Heat My RV?
I want to say it's Heat My RV. He's in
Colorado, right?
yeah, he's in
I think it's Fort Collins.
Fort Collins. That's it. That's where it's at. Anyway, really good guy. Very, very helpful too, by the way.
So what are you doing back there?
You have to pinch clamp the hoses so that you don't get diesel fuel leaking all over everything. It doesn't keep, because if you don't, when you take the fuel filter off, the fuel from the tank will just continue to
free flow.
It's a gravity feed system, and it will just continue to flow through.
Okay.
So if you don't do, and then if you don't clamp the other side, whatever's up here will drain down into the filter as well.
Gotcha. And those are just...
They're just pinch clamps.
Okay, and do you have to get those from a specialty shop, or...
These ones here I got from, the red ones here I think I got from, you know, auto parts place.
Like AutoZone kind of place?
These came with my kit, with this kit
okay.
here. And, I mean, it's half dozen, 1/6 another, right? These clamp on the hose, and then this thing just ratchets out and holds it, or those have a sort of a spring release.
And that's just if there's any excess fuel that drains.
Well, there will be.
Oh, I see. That's the fuel filter there.
There we go. There we go.
What's that for? The gasket?
You have to pull this old O-ring off.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what that little one that was in the box, right?
Yep.
It's a little O-ring.
So we'll put the new fuel filter in, and
Where does that go?
on this thread. So there's a male version of this, you know, threads that goes in there, and this goes at the base of that.
Do you spin it on or roll it on, push it on? How does it go on?
Push it up on there. It actually kind of rolls on, but
Okay.
you just push it over a little bit.
And what is that?
This is Vaseline. It's just to add some lubricant to the...
You just put it on the gasket?
Yep.
Just a light layer.
And then, where's I'm sure it will burn off, but I don't
You don't want
really
excess,
want the
right?
excess in the fuel system.
Before you put that on.
It says do not over tighten, and it says that on every filter ever known, so you don't want to. That's cool, that'll work. That's all I need. Just need to put the date on it. Do me a favor and go inside and fire up. And turn on the diesel. You don't have to turn the electric part on, just turn on the diesel part of the burner.
Do you have to remove those cinch clamps?
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, it'd be a good idea, because otherwise it's not going to get any fuel. Well, that's the control panel. You can't even see the lights right now, but the correct lights are lit up. Heating status lights on. The low tank cutoff lights on. Those are the ones that have to be going. And then the burner status is green, even though you can't really see it. So.
Okay. So no overload faults or anything like that. So we're good to go to turn it off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the burner, when you first turn on your Aqua-Hot, you'll hear it spin like that noise you hear is the motor inside the burner spinning. It'll spin for a little bit, get the air flowing. It triggers and solenoid turns on the fuel. Then the igniters go, and you'll hear it fire up and run. When you turn it off, if you manually turn it off, or when it reaches a temp, the right temp, it cuts off the burner. Then it runs for I think it's 3 minutes. It's an after burn cycle. It does a couple things. One, it cools it down. Two, it clears the combustion chamber of any all the any excess fuel and vapors and stuff like that. So it basically just clears out the chamber, and it runs. I think it's 3 minutes that it runs. And so the reason we just did that after replacing the fuel filter, as they say in there, is to purge the old fuel from the line that goes in, which is right here, the line that comes in, to purge whatever's in that line through that system, out through the burner and out, just burn it away, through the old nozzle, so that you don't put the new nozzle on and there might be contaminated fuel in there and you run it through the new nozzle and clog it up. The burner itself doesn't really get that hot, the diesel burner part here. What gets hot is back in here, and that's the burn chamber. That gets hot because from the front of the burner out, that's the burn chamber in there. It's a big hollow area. So, and it's steel around the outside of it, so it gets pretty warm.
Okay.
We'll let it cool down a little bit. But it doesn't have to be really that cool, because you don't really touch that part. There's 2 bolts that hold the burner in, one there, one opposite of each other. You just undo them, flip them up, but I have to take all these off first, so.
Take them off or pinch them off?
I take them off. I said take them off. Pinch them off is what I have to do. I always like to put these where they're not in my way. So, very effective. Little tools to use. Like I said, either one works really good. But the reason I put this on here, this clamp, is because that is safety switch, safety cutoff. So when you have it's to prevent this thing from running normally without the cover on it.
Oh, okay.
So you have to, you know, if you want to see it in action or see what it's doing or listen to it, you have to bypass that. So.
And is that the control module that you're getting ready to take off of there?
It is called the control module.
And that has 2 plugs.
Yeah. So.
Are they different so that you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're actually different sizes.
Okay. So you can't accidentally mix them up. A little awkward to get to, isn't it?
Well, yeah, they're kind of on the wrong side.
Now, what do you need to remove the hard fuel lines? Just to get them out of your way?
No, because they're connected. You have to take this diesel burner motor out.
Oh, and it's connected to that.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Some of them have flexible they have rubber that goes around. Well, those you can probably get away with disconnecting, or not disconnecting the lines, but just taking the diesel burner out, you know, undoing it and then pivoting it around. Well, you can't do it with the hard lines.
Right.
They don't move. So these wrenches I'm using, anybody that's worked on anything, any cars or anything, they're specifically for this kind of fitting. You usually use them on cars, use them on brake lines, and it's a special wrench with jaws that go around instead of being open on the ends, and you can't have a closed one because you have to get it around the line.
Right.
The idea is with these is because these are really can be very, very tight and hard to loosen, and you can use a regular wrench, like an open end wrench like that, and it has a little bit of play in it. You can easily strip the nuts off, and then you have to replace the whole line.
And you could get those from any hardware store.
These?
Yes.
Yeah, Auto Parts or whatever.
Auto Parts.
Yeah, Auto Parts, hardware. Now I'm going to get some fuel coming out of here a little bit. This is what I'm doing. So the rubber's fine, but I like the fact that this particular system, this particular unit, I should say, has the metal lines in here, because it does get warm in there, and warmth, heat, tends to degrade rubber. So straight out.
So a bolt at 1 o'clock.
And the thing is with these, you don't have to undo them all the way, because you don't have to take the nuts off. They pivot.
Oh, okay.
The bolts pivot, I should say. This one's hard to see, but now unbolted. So that one pops up, and then your burner comes out.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Diesel burner comes out. So again, you got fluid in these. The interesting thing about this is that the housing is actually plastic back here.
Right.
This is metal because that's exposed to heat. This is the burn chamber in here, the burn unit.
I see.
And you can see that it pumped some fluid in there when we were doing our thing. And this does have a decent amount of build up there. But when you take that out, there's around the outside, oh man, it's still warm. Not hot, but it's warm.
You want to be careful not to drop it.
Oh no, you don't want to mess that thing up because that thing's rather kind of expensive. Okay, so this is the unit, right? This is the burner, the diesel burner itself. It's made by a company, a German company called Webasto.
How do you say it?
Webasto.
Webasto.
Webasto. So, and what you really got to do is look to see, do you have any leakage anywhere? There's a little bit of stuff on this. Oops. little bit of stuff on this plate, but that's really not that bad.
What about the photo sensor?
Photo sensor's right there. You just have to make sure it's clean. Because it's a photo sensor. It's called a flame sensor, but it's what it does. It's a photo sensor that tells you whether you have flame or not.
So if the soda isn't built up upon inspection, you don't have to take it all out and scrape it and all that stuff.
I mean, they're saying that you should do it every year, but I'm just here to tell you that plate is that's not a job to do here. That's for sure. That's a pretty good job. A lot harder than doing this. But like I said, I mean, and the thing is that when I cleaned it last year, when I put this, put this new burner in, I took that all out. That chamber, the chamber itself, I pulled out, because on the other side of the chamber is fins, right? And the fins are what you want to make sure are clean, because if they get all gummed up, then it doesn't transfer heat as well. So there's soot in here, it's just buildup of stuff that you get over time.
And it's coming right off. You don't have to use the wire brush to clean it.
I did that big time last year.
So what are you using to clean it?
Parts cleaner degreaser.
Okay.
They say you can use brake fluid, basically.
And is that the photo sensor that you're cleaning?
Well, the photo sensor sits. This little screw actually holds the photo sensor up. It's this right here, and the photo sensor is right inside there.
Okay, so that parts cleaner that you're using could clean all that area.
Yep.
Do you have to be really gentle with that?
The plate
that you're working on?
Not necessarily. The one thing that they do say is this plate has to be loose like that. If it's tight and bound up in there, then it doesn't work.
Okay.
Probably not fire the way it's supposed to. What you don't want to do, as far as being, like you're asking, being gentle with this, what you don't want to do is you don't want to bend it.
Okay.
You don't want to push on it so hard that you bend it, because that's a no-no.
Like crease it.
That's a no bueno.
Yeah, okay.
But you do have a little bit of, you can see a little bit of crusties in there, but still relatively. Okay, well, it's not perfect, but it wasn't perfect when I put it back together last year either, so.
Right.
Probably need a new, not necessarily the chamber, this part, but the diffuser, air swirler is actually what they call it, I
That's
believe.
the air swirler.
Yeah, swirler.
Swirler. Easy for me to say.
The swirler. The swirler, yeah.
Which makes sense, because those ports are in an angle.
Right. So air comes through, swirls around.
Okay.
So
right.
what you do with this, so you don't forget, and I did tighten that screw, one of the screws up.
And it's not rattling.
It's not clinking. It wasn't really, didn't even seem that loose, but. So yeah, what I do is I just put that back in there. That way.
You don't forget.
You don't.
All right, so what size are those?
This is the 3/4.
And the top one is
5/8.
5/8.
And essentially, you do not want the bottom one moving. Good Lord.
It's on there.
There we go. So that right there.
You don't want to happen.
No, well, it's going to happen, but it can happen. But that right there is why you have to readjust the electrodes when you're done.
Oh, yes.
Because if you bump them,
Right.
then
Would it be better to get those suckers out of your way? Or did you loosen that up enough to take it off? Okay.
So Sometimes this is all clogged up with stuff. Sometimes you can't tell, but this doesn't look bad at all, really. But
they say to throw it in the trash,
it's
right?
going in the trash.
So now what are you doing? Cleaning inside where that port
I'm
was?
just soaking up the old fuel.
And that's the new port right there that was in the kit?
Yeah, well, yes. Because I bought the kit, but you don't want to get anything on the front. You don't want to bang the nozzle. You don't want to get any contaminants on the back either. So you just want to get it on there and thread it in.
So they said something about threading it, unthreading it,
Yep.
and
So be sure to tighten the nozzle, loosen it a quarter turn, then firmly retighten it. That me firmly. Back it off. A quarter turn. And then tighten it back down. And the reason that you, as explained, the reason you do that is to make sure it seals, because you don't want fluid leaking out
right
around it. Now, what we're hoping is that when we do the electrode positioning, and they're not, of course. And the reason that's kind of sucky is because this is a little bit of trickiness to this. That's seated. And electrodes. This is your electrode adjustment gauge, which is already on there. We're loosening this bolt right here to adjust them. That's it. And then what you can't do, and I didn't know this initially either, is that you can't over tighten that little bolt right there. If you look, you can video it here. If you look at this gauge, look at how far down they are.
right.
They're way down from the gauge. So what's really important, though, more I think than how far they stick out, is where they position, because that tells you how far apart they are.
Oh, okay. So it's the angle of the electrodes as well.
So that's what they're talking about. Is so the electrodes go up in here, and what they're saying is don't have them stick beyond this, but the points of the electrodes need to go into these two grooves.
Gotcha.
That's what it does. That's what this thing's all about.
Okay.
It's
A little bolt,
but,
and then you could slide the electrodes up or down.
yeah. So get them loose to where they'll actually move. This little, if you tighten that down too much, it tweaks that plate in.
Okay.
And you don't want that.
So you just want it snug, not
You want it.
tweaked.
So now they'll move. Okay. Just like that.
Okay. Then you tighten it back down and just snug it.
Nozzle's tightened down, the electrodes are adjusted, it's cleaned, maybe not spotless, but it's cleaned. No sign of any leakage. The rubber gaskets are all, rubber grommets are all still in good shape. Anyway, we're ready to go back in.
Okay. Squirrel
cages in the thing. This is the hardest part, trying to keep that bolt, the upper bolt, from falling down.
Oh, because it flips.
It flips, and so, and you want to make sure that no wires get caught in it, like that, right there. And this has to get up and out of the way, and you gotta clock it because it's not clocked right now.
Is that heavy?
No. It's
so
really,
a normal sized person could do this maintenance.
yeah, it's not heavy. There we go. Now we're clocked right. There's two little ears on this side, apart from the bolts. And the ears have to, the ears that are on the burner have to go on the outside of the ears on the burn chamber, the outer part of the burn chamber.
Okay.
If you don't get them lined up right, it doesn't want to work. So and then you
attaching the one that's at 7 o'clock.
And you can't, if you obviously, but I mean, it's better saying, you can't force this thing.
Right.
You know, it fits a particular way, and when you're in the right position, it goes right on. I mean, there's no force in it. It just slides right in there. And then you want to snug these down. You don't want to. The other thing you don't want to do is these. You don't want to over tighten. You want to be tight enough that they're not gonna, you know, loosen up on you, but you don't want to over tighten them either. And I don't think it gives you a torque spec, I believe.
And tell me about that manual again.
Yeah, it doesn't. Oh, wait a minute, it does. Torque specification, here you go, 20 to 40 inches. 20 to 40 inch-pounds. And I have a torque wrench that I can do that with. I'll do that. Because I don't, you know me,
one more turn.
Notorious for over tightening things. And here's the thing, and this is where you really have to, this is what you really have to pay attention to. If you over tighten that, these little ears that are right here, that these bolts, they're open like this, because that bolt flips in and out of them. If you crack these things, you have to tear your whole diesel burner down to replace them. I do not have an inch-pound torque wrench. I used to many years ago, but this scale up here gives you Newton meters to feet, but we don't really care because we're not using Newton meters either. So I had to convert foot-pounds or inch-pounds into foot-pounds, so it's 3.3.
How do you convert it?
Divide the inches, the number of inch-pounds
that they require.
The number of inch-pounds, divide by 12, it would be the number of feet-pounds. The reason they do it in inches is because it's 3.3 foot-pounds. Well, that's hard to do on a torque wrench.
Right. Okay, so what were their specs for it?
20 to 40. 20
to 40 inch.
Right. So that 40 comes out to 3.3, so I'm just going to do 3.
Okay.
And so I can stay in the range. Because the problem with something like this is you can generate a lot of torque because of the size of it. And I don't want to go any further.
What about the gas line? Fuel lines.
The fuel lines.
Gotta watch you like a hawk.
Yeah, you do. The lines are on. Burner's on. The air diffuser and pre-chamber are in. Okay, now we put the controller back on. So, make sure those are on nice and tight. Okay, those are in. And route the wires right so you can get this back on here. That slaps back in there like that. Wire on this off to the side. Make sure that one's not being impacted. Okay. We're good to go. Now, we undo the fuel pipe. flames. Make sure the lines can flow fuel. Alright, now with fire said unit up.
Is it time to put your little bypass tool on? Okay, you want me to go start it up?
Yep.
Okay.
So running, no smoke. Smells, smells like diesel, but it's a diesel
Right.
burner. It's a diesel burner, so.
Okay.
Big thing is you don't want to have excess coming out. Lots of diesel smell.
No
We have a
fuel
lot of
leak?
smoke, a lot of no leaking. No fuel leaks.
How about those lights?
So the low cutoff temp status light is on, and the heating status. So
And no defaults or faults.
right. So overload fault generally is electrical issue.
Okay.
This isn't on the electric heating element status because it's not on. We don't have the electric on. You can kind of see the green glow there and the green glow here, and the rest of them no glow, right?
Right,
Well,
and
none
that's a
of
good
these-
thing?
Well, none of these are going to come on. These pumps aren't going to come on until the burner reaches temperature.
Okay.
And over there, if there's a demand. So we don't have the heaters on, so there's no demand, so these won't come on.
Okay.
So we'll let it run until it heats everything up the way it's supposed to, and kicks itself off and runs through its cool down cycle.
So what is the sound that we're hearing now that it's the maintenance has been completed?
An annoying high-pitched whine you hear in the background is the burner motor just spinning. It's not being ignited. It's not under ignition right now. There's no actual burning going on. I believe, like I said, 3 minutes. And basically it's the fan. It's pulling air through the motor, through the diesel burner, blowing it out the front, through the burn chamber and out the exhaust. And it's to get rid of any unburned fuel and to dry it out and to cool it down. And then it automatically kicks off after 3 minutes.
Right. Okay. All right. And your kit that you have in your lap.
So the kit I got it from Aqua-Hot. I don't remember how much they are. You can go on the Aqua-Hot site and see how much they are. They're not super cheap, but what comes in it is the refractometer, which is this device tests your fluid to see if you have the right mixture.
Okay.
So some people, and we haven't done this, but some people do, is they will, if it's low, they just add water. Well, that's a no-no. You're not supposed to add water to this. Not tap water. You can add water, and you have to add water when you buy the concentrate, but you should be using distilled water according to their thing. Distilled water doesn't have any minerals, so it should not cause any corrosion or buildup in your system. So you test this to see if it has the right concentration.
And that
The
refractometer.
refractometer will tell you what that is.
Okay.
Use them in they use them in diesel engines to see what the concentration of antifreeze is in there. So this came in the kit, and they tell you specifically. There's a chart that tells you exactly how much, what the ratio of water to antifreeze is.
And that's in the chart of the manual that you printed off of the Aqua-Hot website that is free.
That is free.
Okay.
The other thing that comes, and it's not in here because we used it, the nozzle comes in this little container in the kit.
And you're keeping that?
I'm only keeping it because I just want to make sure I get the correct one, because there are different sizes of these.
Mm-hmm.
Get the correct one there. These gaskets come with. It's a square gasket with a round hole. It's if you pull the whole burn chamber out to clean the whole thing out, you need to replace this gasket.
Okay.
So that will happen probably next year.
And that wasn't necessary because our burn chamber was not that bad.
Yeah, I mean,
You just cleaned it out.
You still don't know what the outside looks like until you go in there, but with the fins on the outside. But given the difference between the way this looked this year and the way it looked when I took it apart last year, we're gonna right now take it on faith that the outside of the burn chamber is in good shape. If you want to be really, really thorough, then you pull the thing out. But here in the setting we're in, it's really hard to get this burner chamber, the burn chamber, out of this particular unit. So we're not going to do it. This did not come in the kit. The other thing that comes, usually I don't have it because I used it. There's a quart of concentrate, the heat transfer fluid concentrate. I don't know what else. I think that was it.
Okay, and the bag, of course.
And the bag, you get the bag too.
And did it come with any kind of tools?
No.
Okay.
No tools. Well, no, I don't think so. You know, come to think of it, I said these might have come in the kit. They didn't. I remember now. I bought these from a auto parts store. I didn't know which one was going to work better. This came in a kit of 3, and these were individuals.
And those work way better.
These actually work better. Plus, they're curved, so you can fit them in there easier than these. Because there's, I mean, it's not bad here, but there's somewhat of a limited space in there. So
and tell me what those are again.
They're just pinch clamps.
Okay.
So this little device here, I actually built this. I actually bought that panel right there from Aqua-Hot. This panel is in the interior of some rigs, not ours.
Okay.
Ours is an LCD, part of the multiplex system. But this is in some of the current ones and our older systems. And it basically allows you to turn the burner on, the electric portion of your unit on, and then this is the engine preheat, which we can do from inside of our rig. So all these buttons are represented inside on the multiplex system. So what it consists of is, and man, that's a very hard thing to find, that connector, and you have to have that connector to make this work. So
where did you find it?
And you have to ground the system, so that's what the alligator clip is. I actually think I found it, I think it was through Aqua-Hot finally, but it was very hard to find that unit.
Okay.
It was either that or Amazon. So it's a particular kind of connector. I don't remember the name of it. I did at the time. But anyway, that unit is kind of hard to find. But that plugs in to the side of this panel. It actually goes on this side here. You can see, if you want to pull the camera over here, you can see all these wires in here. Oof. See all these little wires? There's 2 different connectors here to that connection. Screw it down tight. And then that allows you to bypass the internal switch panel and use this device here.
All to control the Aqua-Hot unit.
Yeah, because if you're not here, like when I was working on this before, I was by myself, it's not very convenient to have to run in and run out, and run in and run out.
So that's the purpose of that, is
right.
And to be able to work on it.
If you're doing troubleshooting and you want to know whether it's still blowing smoke or if it still smells really diesely when it fires up and all that stuff, you really need to be sitting here when it fires. Because right now when it fires, it's clear. There's no smoke, there's no diesel smell, overly pungent diesel smell. It just smells like burned diesel and clean. So,
and before, it didn't smell like burnt fuel at all. It smelled like raw fuel to me.
Anyway, so that's this thing.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you right now how much it cost. This thing's on Aqua-Hot's website. You can just look it up and see. The box here is just it's actually a electronics kit box. So they use it for all kinds of stuff. It comes blank. You have to cut the hole out and put the hole in here for the wires. So it's meant for people, hobbyists, who want to make some kind of electronic kit.
So did you get the box from Aqua-Hot too?
The box came from Amazon.
Okay.
I just I knew the dimensions of the switch panel and how much room I needed, and so I ordered a box that was about that big. I didn't want something really big.
Okay.
So that's it. And it works really good. That wiring diagram that I showed earlier that's inside the switch panel.
Yes. Or
the service panel comes in very handy when you're wiring that switch panel.
Okay.
Because they have diagrams in here that also show that. And,
right there.
And if you don't know wiring a little bit, it can be very confusing. But so this right here is what really helped me a lot. Because see how it says switch panel? Well, guess what? This mimics. If you look at it, it mimics that panel. It shows you how to wire this up to it. It's a JP2 connector is what it's called. That connector I couldn't remember the name of. It's a JP2.
Now,
so,
is it a 8-prong?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. It's an 8-pin connector. And like I said, it's a little bit difficult to find, but once you do. But anyway, this diagram and the same ones in there.
What page is that on?
This is on page 85 of this manual. And this manual specifically is for 450 Ds. And so if you have a different unit, it's a different wiring diagram.
Correct.
All right, guys. Well, that's the annual service on our unit, which is like I said, Aqua-Hot 450D. Little caveat on this: if we were in a different setting, I had access to a workbench, more time, etc., probably would have taken the burner chamber out and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's better to get the fuel filter replaced, the nozzle replaced, and the electrodes adjusted, so that this unit will burn, burn better, burn more efficiently. Next year, when we do it again next year, we'll be probably in a different location, different place, and then we'll probably end up changing out, replacing the air swirler and some of those kinds of things to really freshen this thing up. But for now, this gets us back to efficient burning and hopefully clean burning as well. There'll be links in the in the video for Aqua-Hot itself, which is where the kit comes from. You can also buy the kit from Amazon. I don't know if it's Aqua-Hot that sells it through Amazon, and that link will be there as well. There'll also be a link to the company that I purchased the burner through last year. I believe it's Heat My RV, and also my favorite gentleman in Seattle area. We'll put a link down there, and I just can't remember the name of his show. But anyway, that's it. Hopefully you find some value in this, and if so, like it, share it, subscribe, and enjoy the ride.